Welcome to the Intuitive Rising podcast. I'm your host, Amy Brooks. This is a podcast that invites you to remember who you are, return to yourself, and rise into your highest and best soul self. Every week, I will be sharing inspiring conversations about topics that hold keys to your awakening. My mission as an international evidential psychic medium, Reiki practitioner, and intuitive mentor is to help you rise into who you were born to be. Enjoy the show. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Intuitive Rising podcast. I am your host, Amy Brooks, and as always, so grateful to be seeing you again. Thank you so much for listening, for sharing, and for supporting me in my work as both a psychic medium as well as a podcast host and teacher. So thank you. Getting all comfy in here. Starting this session today. It's a couple days late. I know we're a little bit past August 1st. We're now on the 4th of August. Today is a stat holiday here in Canada. It is called Natal Day here, whatever it is where you are. If it's a regular working day, Monday, if you're on vacation, if you are having the day off because of the stat holiday, whatever it is that you are doing and experiencing today, or when you catch this, I hope that it is peaceful and I hope that it is good. Good for the soul. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you are wrapped in a bubble of good energy. Okay, don't know where that came from, but somebody needs to hear that. Today, I was going to record this podcast a little later in the day, but change of plans. This was a time when I was supposed to be connecting with a client, but for the first time ever in 8 years, I had a client no-show. Very unusual. I did make sure that I sent some good energy towards that client, and hopefully they are okay and doing fine and maybe just slept through their alarm or something like that. But I do trust in the timing of everything. I trust that, certain things like this happen for a good reason. And I am choosing to take that time to record this podcast for you. A little bit of a message of redirection is direction. So it feels like the time is right to do this for you and to tap into this energy. Quick little update. There is a lot of really good stuff coming for you in the next couple of weeks. I have done about a handful of guest episodes for you, connecting with past clients of mine that are now, energy practitioners in their own right. Some of them are past clients. Others are people also working in the field that I do. And we just came on and had a good conversation about different topics that are extremely relevant to today's time. So I do want to plug that a little bit and let you know there's some really good stuff coming. But for today, we're here to talk about the energy of the month of August 2025. As always, we start off with some cards, a tarot, an oracle, and a soul's journey lesson card. And then I tap into the energy of a number, a color, and an animal messenger for the month. Speaking of animal messengers, I've been having a lot come in lately. It's one of those themes that I talk about, where it seems like there is a theme of topics or similarities, commonalities that come in people's readings. Sometimes it's connect to a whole bunch of, people that want to connect to their dad in spirit. Sometimes it's a whole couple weeks of connecting to people that have served in the military, in the spirit world. All these military men and women come through with their medals and their salutes and their uniforms. And sometimes there's a theme of spirit guides where the spirit guides all kind of reveal themselves and show themselves in readings. Lately it's been animal messengers, which is kind of cool. And I also feel like it is a message from my own spirit guides about kind of putting something out on my website that I've been asked to do. So those of you who have known me for a while, those of you who have had readings with me will know that if there is an animal that's connected to you, and I don't mean necessarily spirit guides in this case, I mean pet. If there's one in the spirit world or one that's living that you're connected to, that animal will more than likely be referenced and brought up and communicated on behalf of by myself. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just because I am like a big animal lover and I'm very connected myself to animals. I don't know. But if you've got a pet, I probably have connected to that pet if you've had a reading with me. All that being said, I've had a couple people say, why don't you kind of have it listed on your website that you are an animal communicator? I don't know. The thought has never crossed my mind to do so, but it is a very specific type of service that, people may be looking for and may not realize that I do in the other readings that I do. So that is something that I feel that I'm going to add to my list of offerings, and then maybe we can get into some deeper dives with the pets that you guys have in the spirit world or living pets and wanting to hear, what they have to say. With that being said, the spirit guide theme, I've been having people's spirit guides pop in. You guys know for me, I've got connection very deeply to the fox, and I feel like that is a spirit animal that's kind of stays with me throughout my lifetime. But then there's some that kind of pop in more situationally, and those others for me are an owl and a horse. And those have come in meditations for me, but also when I've had readings with other readers over the last decade or so, those animals tend to pop in as well. So, um, the other day I was doing a reading for a client of mine that I've seen many times and is so amazing and lovely. And we connected to a cow for her. And this wasn't a cow that she was connected to, as in, like, this was a pet that was in the spirit world or pet that she had now. No, this was a spirit animal pet, or not pet, spirit animal guide. And when we connected to the messages that that cow had to share, it was so on point with what it is that they were kind of like needing and working on. And so I think that's really cool. And sometimes, the spirit animal that you expect to be yours is not. Maybe, like, for me, never expected it to be a fox for me, because I expected there to be an owl as my primary spirit guide. I didn't necessarily have a deep connection to the fox. It wasn't like an animal that showed up in my life all the time. It was more like owl showed up all the time. So I remember asking, probably like a decade ago when I had my first reading, um, can you tell me my spirit animal, an animal that walks beside me? And I said, is it an owl? And the person laughed and they said, I know you want it to be an owl so bad, but no, it is not an owl. Although you have an owl connection that like pops in here and there to help with certain things, that's not your primary spirit guide. So it's kind of like one of those things that it's not just based on like what you love and want it to be. It's what you need. It's what you need. And in this case, there was a beautiful black and white cow coming in who called herself Daisy, which is also such a like female cow kind of name if you think about it. All that being said, let's get back into the cards today and into the messages for the month of August for you all. Our tarot card message is the Seven of Cups. Okay, so we've got a focus coming through on emotions. Emotions. This is giving me vibes of indecision. Um, this is giving me energy of, I keep hearing a couple words. I keep hearing the words sporadic and chaotic. Um, So they're me. I'm just going to leave that. And as you know, I am a traditional tarot reader, but I also am a very intuitive reader. So I take the energy of the Seven of Cups and I build upon it in the moment of like why this card was drawn. What is it trying to say? Um, so again, like indecision based around emotions, potentially relationships. There is some sort of message around chaotic or sporadic kind of feelings or emotions or circumstances. So I'm going to tap into that message a little bit further in this moment in time. So I keep hearing like merry-go-round, merry-go-round. We're on the merry-go-round. When are we ever going to get off the merry-go-round? There is a feeling of possible themes, possible topics that continually pop up, whether they are in our romantic relationships or whether they are in our family or friend relationships or whether they just kind of reside with us within ourselves and show up in our interactions with other people, maybe a combination of all of those things. It feels as if this is a month when and it doesn't feel inherently negative. I want to say that when I bring up the words chaotic and sporadic, maybe that gives us a little bit of sense of like, oh crap, right? Unsettled or uncertainty. It doesn't necessarily feel that way. It does just feel like if there are things we're not working on, if there are patterns that we have been experiencing over and over and over again, like a merry-go-round when it comes to our relationship to others and potentially a relationship also to self. Those things are just kind of popping up for us. They're becoming more apparent. It's kind of like what I'm seeing is the channel on the TV, right? And it's like you could be switching channels and it's like trying to find something to watch, and every single channel that you hit is like the same kind of thing. So for instance, it's like all action movies. And you're like, oh my God, I really just want to watch a rom-com, but everything's showing up as an action movie. The reason I feel that that is being shown symbolically is that it just feels like there's a feeling of like, hey, this is going to pop up, like what you don't want to watch, what you don't want to deal with right now, necessarily the things that you have swept under the rug in the past, is just kind of wanting so badly to be dealt with. And it's not to punish you, to harm you, to make you have a really crappy August. It's more something just to be aware of, okay? So if you find yourself reacting the same way to the same old song and dance, to something that's like, within a relationship we have, a pattern, it's just kind of time to stop running away from that, stop sweeping it under the rug, okay? So the chaotic piece was just because I feel like there's a lot of moving parts. Um, Number one, I feel like outside of this message, August feels busy to me. It feels like there's a lot going on. Potentially collectively, there's a lot going on in the world and a lot that we'll hear about. And maybe that message about the TV channels is like, hey, you can't escape what's going on right now in the world. You can't like stay in your little bubble. You can protect your peace, yes, and you should protect your peace, but you also need to be aware. You can't isolate or hide away from things that are happening. So there's that message that comes through. And it just feels like we're kind of inundated with information this month coming at us from all sides. It also feels like we may just have a lot on our mind. Keep hearing the word filtering. So we're like filtering out different ideas, different things. I keep hearing like you don't have to latch on to every idea that you have this month or every feeling that you have this month. It's very interesting to me. I just want to have a little side note here for a moment. What's coming in reminds me very, very much of some things that I've learned about, of like ways to tackle what we've been talking about, has been through the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. So it's been around for quite a while. It is probably one of the most influential texts that I have read around like mindset in motion and how to kind of get out of the loop, so to speak, of the voice in your head and feeling like stuck or stalled or trapped by that. And interestingly enough, this morning when I was getting ready to do this podcast, I had my tarot deck on my desk and I had the Soul's Journey lesson deck on my desk because those are ones that I use constantly. So they live here on my desk, but the rest lives behind me. All my other cards lives behind me in my bookshelf here. And I open the drawer and I always just kind of feel into a different oracle card every month, like a different oracle deck for you every month. And as soon as I opened the drawer, I wanted to go to a certain deck, but my intuition was like, no, this one. And I was like, that's weird though, because that's not technically an oracle deck. It's kind of more like an affirmation sort of, or inquiry kind of card, like a card that you would pull to like make you think about something. But I kept hearing, no, this is the one. And that deck is the Untethered Soul. So I don't think that is a coincidence that I was led to pull that deck, because there's a theme around that, and like the stories that we tell ourselves and the way in which we kind of keep ourselves in this loop when it comes to our interactions with other people and when it comes to our interactions and experiences within ourselves. So there's this overall theme of like, what stories have you been telling yourself, and are they actually true? So that is your kind of homework for the month when it comes to this beautiful tarot card. um you don't have to, you also, as a secondary message, you don't have to kind of attach onto every single new idea or emotion that you're feeling, right? As your emotions, because again, this feels like an emotion focused month, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So as you are feeling your feels, please know that the emotions that you're feeling are just messengers. I always like how I understand this. I understand things through metaphor, and symbols and things, and that's why the spirit world communicates that way for me, because that really drives it home for me and makes it relatable. But a way that I like to understand this is simply like, you are the radio, right? You are the vessel, the radio, in which the song, the emotion plays through. And it's not that the radio is producing the song or owns the song or wrote the song or is the song. It's just that it is playing the song. And so if you can begin to think of your emotions as a messenger and a song playing, they will begin to tell you really what the purpose of that feeling is, right? It's not always, oh, I feel this way, I'm a crappy person, I shouldn't feel this way. Like, this is how we get attached to emotions, because we judge the emotion, because we wonder why we feel this way, or we judge ourselves for feeling a certain way, rather than just thinking of yourself as that vessel in which emotions flow through, whether they are coming from something in your life that's current and is going on, whether they are emotions that are based in your cellular DNA from your ancestors, from your past lives, whether they are messengers, emotions that are coming from the collective. There's a whole bunch of those right now, right? If we began to think about ourselves as that vessel, as that radio, and just allowing the song to play without attachment to it or judgment of why it's playing, then the real truth, the real meaning behind why the emotion is even happening in the first place reveals itself, and it makes it much easier to deal with, makes it much easier to flow through and reveal itself. It's just, honestly, it's one of the biggest things that I've done personally that has, well, I guess what I want to say is, it's one of the things I've done personally that has shown me the biggest results in my own life, in my own mindset of like getting out of my own way of my emotions. Um, Emotions are great. They're wonderful. We need to have emotions. You know, the world would be a very different place if we didn't have emotions. But there's just a feeling of like, are you allowing your emotions to trap you in some way? Are you stuck in the same song and dance? And is that causing some indecision? Is that causing some aggravation or turmoil? Or is that causing you to feel stuck because you're not allowing the emotion to play? So we've got that come forward from that lovely card. This is one of those you can't make this stuff up cards. So the Soul's Journey lesson card. So the cards are like face down on my desk here. The Soul's Journey lesson card that was chosen is relationships. Okay, of course it is. Of course it is. That goes with everything that we've just spoken about. So there is an overall theme about the quality of the relationships we have this month, not just with others, but with ourselves. And how's that working for you is what I hear very lovingly from the collective. It says on the card, I am attracted to those people who serve my highest good. Now, in order to be able to say that and to believe that to be true, we would have to have the level of awareness that, the feelings that we have, the emotions that we have, the experiences that we have are, especially the more like negative, or the more challenging, I should say, are if we're like a little bit removed from them in the sense that we are observing them versus attached to them. Good example of this is like victim mentality, which we have talked about many times, and I have shared with you many times that I know that that is one of the biggest life lessons that I have to break that chain within my own soul, but also within my lineage of this feeling of like negativity and everyone's out to get me and I can never do better and I'm a victim to my circumstances. That would be the theme of the first little bit of my life when I was much, much younger. Um, but that is not who I am, and that is not who I have to be. And so I have made extremely huge strides in that way in my life because I do not feel a victim to anything anymore. I know that I have the power to choose something different. And just because something has happened in the past to me, and maybe no, that's not fair, it doesn't mean that that has to influence my future. It doesn't have to influence my present. I can choose to overcome that. That's the rewriting of your own story. And when you're able to reach that place of awareness, then you begin to be able to view relationships this way, versus like, I am extremely angry at this person because they have wronged me in the past. Yes, and that's okay. And remember, forgiveness is a touchy topic, and I know. And I never want to come across as bypassing anyone when it comes to this topic, because I know also forgiveness is a very personal journey. But I can tell you from my personal experience that I believe forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself. And by choosing to forgive something, it is not choosing to say that what happened was okay, or that the person that did that thing was right to do so, and that it's a clean slate and like it doesn't matter. It's more that you are just saying, okay, that was terrible, but I didn't deserve it. And that wasn't a reflection of who I am. And that's not a reflection of what I deserve. And that I can choose moving forward to release the burden of carrying that with me as if I deserve it. Right? So it's kind of like being aware, holding that in companionship with you. We are our past and our experiences, but not allowing it to influence us in a way that keeps us trapped and small. And so if we're able to do that, then we can see that relationships that we have, there is some sort of underlying sprinkle, let's say, of something that you can extract from it that is a gift to yourself. And it may simply be, I overcame that. I am resilient. You can kick me 3 times, I will get back up 4. That experience has shown me that I am resilient. I am powerful. I can create my own life. That is a good example of being able to view relationships and the people that you have been in relationship to, whether they are close or 6 degrees of separation, that all of that is happening for some little sprinkle of good that you can take from it. It's soul growth. And I know that that is a tough thing to understand. But if we could, the first piece around the viewing of the emotion as a messenger versus as a personal, reflection of who you are, absolutely will help a little bit with that. So this is a weighty thing. It's not something we just deal with in 1 month and we're good to go. It's a lifelong practice of awareness and reminders. All right. And self-love, the self-love club. Okay, now let's go to the Untethered Soul, which was coming in as our oracle message today, even though it's not technically an oracle card. The back of it says experiencing energy. And this side says, your heart is an instrument made of extremely subtle energy that few people may come to appreciate. But in truth, you are not your heart. You are the experiencer of your heart. Okay. Oh, I hit my mic. I'm sorry about that if that made a noise. Okay. So, what does that mean? What I'm hearing about that is, again, the experiencer of the experiencer. There's a little bit of observational kind of quality to that message. It is like when you are the experiencer of an emotion and you are that radio, that vessel, you are experiencing the song without being the song, right? And that's very helpful when it comes to mindset, because when it comes to like limiting self beliefs or something in your mind that tells you an untruth about yourself, like I can't do that, nobody's going to care, I have no purpose, what is the point of me being here? These are some examples of the thoughts that we may have that are limiting, right? And unkind to self. When we have the awareness that we are experiencing the voice in our head, we are not the voice in our head, everything clicks and changes. And that's something that I took and learned from that book, The Untethered Soul, was, okay, if the voice in your head is you and you are conjuring that up, then who is witnessing it? Who is listening to it? And if you're able to kind of think about it that way, then you know that you are other. So the way I like to think about this is the ego is the one that's thinking those things, that part of us, the ego, that's very, very steeped in so many wonderful things, but it's also very steeped in our wounds and our fears, our apprehensions, our what we feel as our challenges, our backgrounds, our childhood traumas, all of that is what the ego is kind of made of, right? The substance of it. And so, of course, that is going to be, if that's the voice of all those things, then of course it may have a very biased way of thinking about things. Remember this, this helps me understand when I think about the ego. The ego is that very well meaning helicopter mom at the playground, right? Which I have been before when I was a new mom. Very well meaning. She is so worried about what will happen to her little precious child. This little precious child is a toddler that is experiencing life for the first time and is excited and just wants to go, go, go and explore and be curious. And that is the spirit, the soul, who we are, right? The listener, the observer. And that wants to go, 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 go. And the mother, the well meaning mother, is like, but I don't know what is on the other side of that tunnel. And I am afraid that you will hurt yourself because of A, B, and C, because of the past, because of the childhood trauma, because of the conditioning, the inherited patterns, etc. That, of course, would be the lens that the ego sees the world through. But you are not the ego. The ego is just like the screen playing the movie based on all these things that have kind of could potentially um, impact what will happen, right? Um, and the soul is the one that's just like, let's do it, let's do it. So try to think about that when you think about the ego and the voice in your head. It's very well meaning. It just wants to protect you. It doesn't know what's on the other side. It's only kind of thinking of, okay, in the past, this, and this. And so this is now my frame of reference. And so maybe it didn't work out in the past, or your mindset, your inner voice has become that because of what you've heard when you were growing up, or your parents' voice, experiences that you've had at school or with ex-partners, etc. And now it's just become this frame of reference for everything. And if you can try to differentiate that and begin to view it as, what it is, and have compassion for that side of yourself, it gets a lot easier to navigate. A lot easier. So that's what we've got. And so the experiencer of your heart means that your heart holds all of that, right? It holds all of the past hurt that you've had. It holds the collective hurt. It holds the ancestral hurt, but not just hurt. It holds all the good things as well. But you are the one that gets to experience the heart. And there's just this feeling, I keep hearing the word malleable or pliable, and it gives this impression that the heart is malleable. Um, that we know the brain is, that we know that we can create new neural pathways whenever we kind of think and create a new way of, I'm thinking of like a pattern or a behavior. People say it takes like 21 days to really instill a new behavior into your subconscious. That's a good example of what I'm trying to say. There's a malleability, there's an ability to change and to create new ways of being. And I'm hearing that with the heart as well. I'm hearing that with the heart as well. And I know there's a lot of focus as we move forward into what some will call the golden age, where we're going in the future, where people are more heart centered and where people are able to have that objectivity and be able to see things through the lens of that, of compassion. And okay, like I'm holding a place of forgiveness because I'm not allowing my past or the world's past or that person's past and what they've done to impact my present and my future. It's no longer going to weigh me down. All right. A little bit esoteric getting here in August. We're getting a little esoteric. Now let's move on. Now that we've spoken about the clear, very clear themes and messages that seem to be coming up for August, now let's see about number and what wants to come up organically for me when I ask about a number. A number support, one that you may notice in your travels, you may notice on license plates, on signs, street signs, you may notice on your phone, on your grocery receipts, on your microwaves. Just keep an eye out for. Okay. I see 818. And so I am chuckling a little bit because that's a special number for me. 818, 818. Okay, let's see. 818. So we've got that, the double eights. We are in the 8th month of 2025. We've got like the Lion's Portal on 8-8. There's a lot of that manifestation energy coming through. Okay, so we've got the double eights and we've got the one. What is that trying to tell us here? Okay, so I keep seeing a lion. Okay, and I don't know yet if that's kind of coming in ahead of time before I'm asking about the animal messenger of the month, but I don't necessarily think so. I think this lion is being shown to me as a symbol for Leo season, which we are now firmly planted in. And Leo season, for me, is about like inner will and power. Um, and I think about the energy of Leo season. Very much feels as if there's this power of creation, is what I hear. So it's kind of like manifestation 101 time in the month of August, especially during the first chunk of it. That is in Leo season before we move into Virgo at the end of August. So there's this strong message that when you see 818, or I feel like in general eights, but 818 is going to be like a special wink for some or most of you for sure. 818 feels like a special wink. And maybe the 18th of August will be special. I know for me, the reason that it resonates with me is my anniversary with my husband is August 18th, 818. And so that's a number I see often. That's our wedding anniversary. And so maybe when you see 818, it's a sign. I feel like what I'm hearing is a sign of alignment that you've done something or you are on track to do something that allows you to feel more empowered, or you are walking the path of empowerment. That's what that means, is what I hear. Walking the path of empowerment. is 818. You are taking back your power in some way. And so if we think about that through the lens of emotions and relationship patterns and relationship to ego, right? And in the past, um, that's why that kind of comes in as a focus this month of like, hey, can we just let some of this move through us to reveal the real reason? Because if we are moving in a place of anger or bitterness in the relationships that we have with other people, and then every time we encounter a trigger in some way, shape, or form, we poke the wound, we poke the bear, so to speak. We're flooded with that emotion, and we've attached a meaning to the emotion that then keeps us in a loop, right? And so the guidance this month was to view the emotion as the messenger rather than this is a reflection of me. So, if, for example, if you're feeling angry, it's okay to feel angry, but set the intention or try to remind yourself as you're feeling angry that you are not attached to the anger, that the anger is not a representation of who you are, but rather a an energy that you have connected to, that you have, created a pathway with, a story around, a loop. And so it's like anytime you encounter a certain situation, that emotion is kind of like reminding me of scent and memory, like how scent is so tied into memory. So we can have a scent pop in from like when we were a child, and all of a sudden we're flooded back with that memory that we associate with it. And that can be both positive, beautiful messages like, I can smell cotton candy. It's reminding me of the time when I went to the fair every summer with my best friend and my grandparents, and we ate corn dogs and we went on the Ferris wheel, and that was such a magical time in life. But then it can also work in the other way where we may be associating something, like in this case, an emotion, with a more negative experience, a heartbreak, right? Um, Grief, for instance, may be popping up for some of us as well. Yeah, so 818 is like when we see it, it's a reminder to be empowered on your journey. Like you hold the key here. You can rewrite this story. You can feel and find more freedom on this path. You don't have to stay stuck in this loop forever. You can release it. So that's what comes in about 818, which is really quite beautiful. Okay, let's go to a color. Color. This is random. I say random because when I get very specific, like colors, I'm always like, okay, specific, spirit. I heard periwinkle blue. Periwinkle. I'm going to intuitively see what pops up for that rather than go to my Google and see what comes up associated spiritually with this color, periwinkle blue. Remember, everything has an energy about it. And so colors hold different vibrational frequencies that convey certain things. It's why, we might think about wearing red as a power color. Red lipstick makes us feel like raw, right? Um, or wearing the red heels makes us feel like sexy or attractive or powerful. We associate different feelings with colors, right? But there's also a vibrational kind of energy about it. And so, what am I picking up about periwinkle blue? Let's see. Well, right away, I am hearing like, it's funny, I'm hearing Serenity Now. And it's reminding me of like something I've heard from years ago. If anybody is of a similar generation as myself, you may remember Calgon. And I think Calgon is still around. It was like a brand of like very sickly sweet body sprays and things like that. And I used to wear one that was like orange ginger, I think. And they definitely had a cucumber melon back in the day. Aging myself, but that's okay. My hair is also aging myself currently, so I'm good with that. I've earned my stripes at 45 and a half. So we've got this like Calgon take me away message, which I feel like was an ad for them. Like, Calgon, take me away. Spray this spray of some sort of tropical vacation and like take me away mentally when I'm stressed out. There's something around that comes in with the energy of this periwinkle blue. So, like looking for calm, looking for serenity, looking for peace. So we know we've got this energy of like potentially a lot going on. We've got a lot of thoughts. We've got a lot of feelings. Maybe there's a lot coming at us collectively in the news, in the world, but also in our life. It's like a preparation time. But our soul, very much in August, our soul wants peace and serenity. Right. And if we think about it, the messages that come up are like potential energetic experiences that, based on our own experiences, our own past, our own narrative and story in our head, we all may react very differently to that. Those of us that maybe don't have as much relationship trauma, or certain thing that triggers us around relationship to self or in the past, may not experience as like, they may experience the chaotic kind of energy of like, oh my God, there's so many things on the go, but the themes might not hit them in the same way because they're not hitting on a nerve, so to speak. But then those of us who have been through the ringer around other things may go, oh my God, right? But it's very subjective on like, it's very personal. How do we navigate this energy? And so the energy that the messages, rather, the guidance that comes through is for those of us where the nerves are being hit, where the stress, where the overwhelm is popping up simply by the momentum of the month of August. But our soul wants August to be slow. Our soul wants August to be like that first cup of coffee in the morning, or first cup of tea, or your beverage of choice that you have in the peace of the morning, where you take that first hit and you're like, ah, that's what I was waiting for. That beautiful hit of coffee in the morning, or matcha, or tea, whatever it is. Um, your soul wants August to feel like that. It's a slow exhale. It's savoring. The month of August is like, it's got like a nostalgic quality to it as well. It's kind of like, okay, this is almost over. Summer is now we're in those kind of glory days of summer, and we know that they're fleeting, and so that in itself makes us want to hold on to them. So that's what our soul wants. That's what the color periwinkle blue is offering us, is that like slow sip of coffee in the morning, the putting your feet up and listening to the bird song, the being in the moment, the feeling of like, okay, like, let's take a picture of this, let's take a mental picture of this. This is what's going to get us through when we're in the dog days of winter. Or it's kind of like, what did I just hear? I heard a term and it kind of was like, went in the back of my mind and then went right back out. But it's kind of like, you're going to want to remember this. Oh, these are the good old days. That's what I heard in my mind. These are the good old days. These are the good old days. So August wants that from us. And so the tools, this is a working month in the sense that August is going to make us work for that peace, for that like serenity. Now I've put my feet up, I've earned this. The soul wants that so badly, but the soul wants to get it as a reward for doing some sort of work around the mental loop, around the attachment to emotions. And the guidance that comes in is to help those of us that struggle with that, which is, let's be honest, most of us, right? And if we can kind of work with that a little bit, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. It's simply a reminder. You're rewriting a story here. Or you can get caught up in the emotion. You can get angry. You can feel angry. Just, it's a reminder of like, okay, what is this trying to actually tell me? Like, what is the divine message of this anger? And when we start to think that way, then there's more ease. So it's kind of like this message of like, um, a lighthouse. I was seeing like I take a moment there because I was seeing very rocky water. And then I was like, where are we going here? The rocky water is the potential, how we, it's like our triggers, or how we may interact with an energy that is overwhelming or a lot. And then the lighthouse is just like I'm good. I'm calm. I'm steady. I'm here. I'm here. Nothing can shake me kind of message. So that comes in with the periwinkle blue. And so think about that color, or just think about the essence of that kind of shade of blue. You can visualize in that in your mind, in your meditations, as you're sitting there with your eyes closed, drinking your coffee in the morning. Just visualize the energy of that and how that feels to you. It very much reminds me of like, Caribbean ocean waters. It's like toes in the sand. It's like slow, the sound of the waves, right? It's finding a sand dollar. It's sitting in the sun and feeling the sun on your face. Like that's the essence of this color this month. So invite more of that in. So if you're feeling creative, maybe use that color in one of your creations. Do some painting, wear one of those colors. Just visualize that in and call it in. Periwinkle blue is a very peaceful, serenity, calm kind of energy. So that is what our soul wants. That's what we've got. So we've got number 818, which is all about empowerment, walking the path of empowerment, connecting to that which makes us feel empowered, which is not sweeping things under the rug, right? We can be honest with ourselves. This month is like kind of a do-over. It's a chance to create a new way of being. I keep hearing in my mind, it's never too late. You're never too old. It doesn't matter if it's like a random Tuesday evening in the middle of August. It doesn't matter when you choose to do something differently. It just matters that you do. So we've got that. Now let's tap in lastly for the message, the animal messenger of this month, and see what wants to come through for us for August. And we've got somebody popping through, and it is a gecko. A gecko. Have I ever connected to a gecko before? I don't believe so. So let's take a moment and just kind of see what Mr. Gecko is bringing through for us in terms of guidance for the month of August, and maybe how it relates to all the other things that we've talked about so far. Okay. I'm hearing about shedding skin. Shedding your skin, which brings up a feeling of like rebirth, regeneration, which is what we just talked about, getting to start over, writing a new chapter, becoming would be a great overall word to think about in the month of August. Becoming. Who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? And is it who you want to become? And if it's not, what can we do to change that? Small steps, starting with our interactions with other people and starting with our interactions with self around our emotions and how we feel and our healing journey. We begin there. Who are you becoming is what I'm hearing. Love that. Love, 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 because the fall also very much feels like once we hit September, that very much feels almost like New Year energy to me. So it makes sense that that's a new chapter in some way, or and this is kind of like we're wrapping something up, and so we are rather revisiting. Who are we becoming? Who are we becoming? Who do you want to be moving forward? Okay, so we got shedding skin, we've got rebirth, regeneration. I'm hearing resilience, which we talked about earlier. A gecko is extremely resilient, is what I hear. What I hear very clearly. Um, and adaptable, can go with the flow, can handle what comes our way. Remember we talked about the waves being the lighthouse. Adaptable gecko, adaptable. I love that connection, the gecko, and then the images that was coming through with the periwinkle blue and like the Caribbean beach and like sand in the feet in the toes in the, no, let's start over. Toes in the sand. There we go. Feet in the water, feet in the toes. Is that what I said? That's so funny. Um, the sun, the sand dollar, the starfish, the seahorse. I keep seeing a seahorse too, which is interesting. Yeah, that really, really lines up with like the gecko energy, I feel. And I'm also hearing about navigating, which we've heard I've used the word navigating a few times in this episode so far. I'm hearing navigating with grace, navigating life with grace, which I feel like really encompasses this tool of forgiveness that I brought up. That is very much having grace, being in a state of grace, right? Um, how lovely is that? Okay, so 818, periwinkle blue, gecko. There we go. Seven of Cups, helping with your indecision, helping a little bit with the sporadic, all over the place energy. Focus on relationships, focus on the heart space. All of this coming, wrapping up with a bow for a beautiful August in which we decide to be the best version of ourselves. And what does that look like? And deciding what that looks like for the now. And then every day, decision by decision, making that decision based on this ultimate version of self without bypassing existing version of self or past version of self, just kind of slipping off the skin of it, allowing you to be reborn, regenerate into this new version of self in which you use that. You use it as past experience to draw strength from, to draw evidence of resiliency versus something that keeps you trapped in a state of victim consciousness. All right, there we go. Big month for us. I'll see you back here very soon, and stay tuned for next week when I begin my second guest interview, all about living with or working with people who are at the end of life, palliative care, and or Alzheimer's dementia. I talked to a healthcare professional who is also a client of mine, all about her experiences working in those units, in those areas, and with people, family members, and the patients themselves, as well as my perspective and what I have learned from the spirit world as a medium connecting to people who have experienced that in their life when they were living. All right, it's going to be a great one. Stay tuned. See you next week. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider hopping on over to wherever you listen to your podcast and giving it a 5-star review. Thank you so much in advance. If you'd like to keep in touch, please head over to my website, theintuitiverising.com, to keep up with all the things that I have been doing. I also have a private Facebook community for people just like you. It's called the Intuitive Rising Community. All you gotta do is request to join, and I will let you in. Keep rising.